Ayup, welcome back to our outdoor kitchen project. Here's part 5, the finale. Today is roofing day, so I've got to cut the ends of the rafters off and then fit on some fascia board that I've got down there over the garden just there. Once I've done that, I reckon we can start getting the tiles on, which is great news. A little bit of spalting in these bits, look, just if you can see that, and then a little bit of worm damage where the bark was, and once it's under cover of the eaves it really won't matter then. It's just to put a straight edge on the top, so that will be the top of the fascia board, and I want to put a straight edge on so the tiles can sit on that edge better. So roofing's a tricky business, full of angles and trigonometry and goodness knows what else, and I'm not very good at all that. But I've learned a few things with rosemary tiles. That's these ones are about 7 inches wide and about 11 inches long. and it's the overlap you've got to get right. So these have got a 4-inch gap between, which creates this third. So you've got the bottom tile, that tile, and the top tile, I call it. It creates that sort of 3-inch overlap there, and it means then that as the water runs down and you got these gaps, it can't run down a gap and then underneath potentially that tile, because if that tile was down here, the water could run down this gap and then over the top of this tile and down into the roof line. So you don't want that. So the way I've done that is I've cut these noggins, and I think these are 67 millimeters, which creates this 4-inch, just there, look, between the top railer there and the top railer there. So each tile then, and I just keep moving these noggins up, screw the batten on, take the noggin out, move it up like that. The other thing I did with this roof, which I'm going to have to do with this roof, is I haven't got any tile and a halves, which normally it's that plus a half tile, and what it does, it helps to stagger your joints, and I haven't got none of them. So what I did with this one is I got an ordinary tile and cut it to 3/4 and did those two at 3/4. That was a full tile, those two at 3/4. So in effect I get a tile and a half to start that centre line down the next tile. So I'm going to do the same with this. It's probably not ideal, and I'm sure there's a builder or roofer out there that will correct me and say that's a complete and utter bodge. But so far we've not had any leaks with this one. It's been pretty good. By the way, Karen's just told me I look like Simba off the Lion King. She's laughing at me because I've got orange all over my head from cutting the tiles. I just thought I'd share that with you. Right, I've been stressing and mackling with this. Bottom tile sits on like that. Again, new roofers will probably put me in the right direction, but what was happening, because this batten was rotated like these, same as that, it meant that was lying down like that, and then the next tile on it was kicking up, which meant that this tile, sort of exaggerating, was lying like that sort of down. So I've had to use this batten here to kick it up and then screw those in, and once the next tile's on top and the next tile's on top, it sort of makes it look right, but before that it looked a right mess. So I've had to kick that batten up, which I think will be okay. But yes, it's taken me like faffing about with that for about an hour, trying to work out, putting the tiles on, screwing them on, taking them off, putting them back on, taking them off, putting them back on. Now, because of the exposed nature of these legs, and there's nothing to stop the weather from affecting these posts, the worst thing that can happen with end grain, if you leave end grain posts on the floor, is the end grain absorbs the moisture, and that's where the rot will start, because it can't breathe. The timber can't get rid of the moisture at that point. What I've got is some reconstituted slate. And before I put any more of the roof on, so I'm going to jack it up very slightly, slide these reconstituted slate underneath this one and this one, trace round at the lines, cut this out, slide it underneath, and what it means then is, if this is cut very much slightly than this, water can run down the posts, and it won't run on top of the slate, hopefully, it will run off the timber onto this, and it'll create that sort of 5mm gap underneath to stop the moisture from wicking up. So I've just done those three. that one, and that one. The one on the pedestal I've not done, simply because the likelihood, with it being so tucked in, the likelihood of that getting moisture on is low. Plus with it being so high off the actual ground level, I really don't think the risk of moisture is going to affect that one at all. Sorry about that. This is tricky, isn't it?
Anyway, I'm gonna go inside.
Okay, babe.
See you in a bit.
Yeah, sure.
That one was a good one.